our community residents have been calling, emailing, and literally showing up in our lobby demanding more and asking how they can sign on to this effort. Put simply, after years of delay, the people have had enough. My big mama put it this way: once a task you have first begun, never finish until it is done. Be the labor great or small, do it well or not at all. Now, I need to put on my hard hat, go outside, and wait for these procrastination Crenshaw construction crews to show up. I'll let you know if and when they do. Trust and believe. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Possession is the motivation that is hanging up the goddamn nation. Looks like we always end up in a rut. Everybody now trying to make it real compared to
KBLA Talk 1580. This should give you a hint of who is in the studio with me in case you are not listening. Because he always loves to come with that jazz. He is, well, how do you describe yourself? A pundit, a political thinker. He's a KBLA host, I know that. He hosts the Reconstruction Project Sunday mornings at 9 here on KBLA. For many years, he a national leader with Braver Angels, former political candidate.
This is correct.
An unusual Republican.
Yep, all that. Writer, public intellectual, I suppose. Former
There's the
former
word I was looking for. Public
for,
intellectual.
Yeah, it's kind of a pretentious term, but
is it?
I think it works, I suppose.
I'm a private intellectual.
Private intellectual.
I try to act as dumb as possible in public and as smart as possible in private.
I think you're pretty smart on both sides.
Oh, thank you, John. Yeah, but well, welcome.
Yeah, and all that jazz.
So are you running again? I think I ask you this every time you come in.
I think you do.
It's kind of like how I troll you.
A lot of people ask me that. The short answer to the question is I am not at this moment. But people just keep on asking me, so maybe that's a suggestion that maybe I ought to think about it.
Well, I mean, it just seems likely. I mean, you continue to raise your profile. You have a book coming out. Usually when people who have run for office before have books coming out. It could be a sign they're going to run.
Well, I mean, you know, the thing is, because I mean, I really enjoyed being a candidate all those years ago. And
Really?
Oh yeah, no.
It seems like misery to me.
Well, I mean, I love talking to people. I love being in front of people. I like being in neighborhoods. I like, running my own team and so forth. I mean, yeah, most people don't enjoy asking for money, but I can do it, I think that part of the issue with me is that I don't really fit very well in any of the sort of pre-existing partisan structures, really. On the one hand, I'm a Republican, and I'm in California, a very Democratic state, and so forth. Now, I think I'm a Republican who probably could appeal to a much greater range of people than most Republicans, but that's an uphill battle. But then, on the other hand, within the Republican Party, I'm probably quite out of place in terms of
it's interesting because it's weird because you when I talk to you and you and I don't agree on many things, I hear a lot of Republican Party lines. I really do. Yeah. But you're just not dumb, and you're not bombastic, and you're not mean. And you seem to be pretty ethical. So those are the things that, I mean, what I'm saying, and I don't mean to be glib, but what I'm saying is seems like policy-wise, you're not that far off from the mainstream of the Republican Party. It's more stylistically. Yeah,
I mean, different parts of the party are different parts of the country are different, but I do think that in a previous era, it would have been accurate to think of me as a moderate conservative Republican who, on certain matters of social justice, veers left of center. I think that probably would be sort of an accurate way of thinking of me. But I think that the party today has, developed into something that, in broad swaths, is much more populist and nationalist than it is conservative in a traditional bent. And two, and not unrelated to that, in many respects, has become a little bit of a mass cult of personality behind the great leader. And that is I don't know. It's not a context that the type of Republican politician that I was trying to be would have lined up very well with, nor would I line up very well with it now. So if I were to run for office as a Republican, I mean, I would try to be a voice for conscience and correction within the Republican Party. And, whether you're Democrat or Republican, there's always value, I think, in running campaigns rooted in principle, even if they don't have a big chance at winning.
Even if principle is out of style in your party.
Maybe especially when principle is out of style.
Maybe especially. But you say the Republican Party is a lot of different things, and right now I don't see it. I've seen that in the past. You had your sort of moderates. You had somewhat of a range. You had your hardcore nationalists. Now I've mostly seen kowtowing to Trump.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, the spread has definitely shifted. I mean, going back in time, I used to think of the party as like, you had your neoconservative elements, you had your sort of, evangelical cultural conservatives, you had your hardcore libertarians and whatnot who, kind of swung left on certain issues but were way to the right on other issues. Now, Trump is without doubt the predominant power in the party. There's no doubt about it. But of course, you see very high-profile splits on issues like Israel, for example. You see major media figures.
But
like
who's in power in the Republican Party that split on Israel?
Well, that's a good question.
I mean, you're talking about the actual people, right? You're talking about the pundit class and the people. But as far as Republicans in power, they're pretty much all lined up in a Zionist row.
Well, yeah, I mean, Israel, whether you are, think of yourself as pro-Israel or anti-Israel geopolitically, has been a dominant, I think, lobbying force in both parties.
I mean, is that and even that framing to me, I would challenge pro-Israel and anti-Israel. How about pro-justice and anti-justice? Because Israel, as a state, isn't the problem. It's the policies of Israel. You see what I'm saying? That's like saying
when I say
pro-U.S.
when I say
and
Israel,
anti-U.S.
what I mean
and equating
is,
it with Trump.
right.
If you're equating Israel with Netanyahu, then yeah.
It's a fair point. When I say Israel, I mean the policies of the Israeli government.
Right. But yeah. I'm saying that because there was a big, huge ad in the LA Times this weekend saying that if you're anti-Zionist, that means you're against human rights and humanity, and that's not factually true.
I've always disagreed with that. You can be anti-Zionist and love Israel and love Jewish people. As a matter of fact, I would like to think that maybe hopefully that characterizes most people who are anti-Zionist, right?
I think it does.
Because, presumably, and I say this not trying to attach myself to one side or the other of this question right now, but if you are anti-Zionist, that should come from a vantage point of loving all people and wanting to stand against inhumane policies that ultimately destroy human life, right? That should be where that's coming from. Or degrade human life through policies of occupation that one might see as sort of extending an unjust kind of colonial style regime. So, I mean, the Israel-Palestine history is vastly complicated, and I'd want to treat it as such. But I've never looked at anti-Zionism as being in any way a default hateful position. I would like to think that comes from a place of love for the marginalized. And so, I don't equate anti-Zionism to anti-Semitism as a matter of principle.
Yeah, I mean, that was a little bit of a tangent because we were talking about the lockstep Trumpism that I see in the Republican Party right now, and you were saying you see many flavors of Republicans.
Yeah, we just veer all over the place.
Right, which is fine, but you said, there's divergence within the Republican Party on Israel, and I don't see it as far as actual electeds.
As far as high-profile elected officials. And I'm not nearly as good as I used to be at sort of tracking down, all of the public statements of senators and members of the House of Representatives and so forth. Thomas Massey might have been an exception to that, but he obviously just lost his race, so he's out of Congress. Rand Paul, I'm not sure where Rand Paul has sort of I mean, historically he would have been a libertarian voice who would have been critical, I think, of much of the sort of militaristic foreign policy of the American government and our relationship to Israel and some of those areas as well. I think that you can probably identify a few voices who are at least not as loudly enthusiastic, but as a whole, of course, the fortunes of again, both parties, I think, are deeply invested.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that is right.
But
at least you can identify some high-profile Democrats that aren't. There are very few. Probably count them on one hand, and they may not be in office next time we talk because they target them and take them out of the party.
And yet, Dominique, it's interesting because just back on the Republican side for the moment, more recently, of course, obviously we've now been through the whole sort of Iran affair now in the way that we have been, but of course Donald Trump has been sounding off very critically against Bibi Netanyahu and against sort of Israel's behavior during the
because he lives on Twitter,
the ceasefire negotiations and so forth. And what's been interesting, I think, in part, is to observe the kind of pendulum swing between Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance, who are positioned as sort of the two plausible would-be successors. And of course, Rubio appeals more to a traditional, you could describe it as a neoconservative sort of Republican constituency that wants to be more aggressive on these things. And J.D. Vance actually is looked at as sort of the person who is more skeptical of foreign intervention generally and who is seen as a friendlier voice to the Israeli skeptical wing of the voting
even
base
though he's a
shapeshifter,
if we're being honest. I mean,
maybe, but he's
maybe
he's linked.
He said that Trump was Hitler, and now he's
No, I hear.
All up in his butt crack.
I'm just saying he's closely linked with Tucker Carlson, and Tucker Carlson has just announced that he's basically leaving the Republican Party, sort of over the issue of Israel in a big way. But Tucker's son works for J.D. Vance and so forth. And so depending on what mood Trump is in vis-a-vis Israel, if he's happy with Israel, you're going to see more Rubio. on TV and so forth. If he's unhappy with Israel, you're going to see more of that.
Interesting.
That seems to be the pattern.
Interesting.
And so Trump himself is kind of divided sometimes, depending on maybe which way the wind is blowing.
The worst of Gemini. JOhen Wood Jr. is here, and we will keep the conversation going on this Talking Point Tuesday, only on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Don't be anxious or confused about AI. Take control of your career when you get the skills to tackle real business problems and design specialized solutions. HR Dive reported that entry-level talent with applied AI credentials can receive up to a 25% salary boost. But where do you find training that you can trust? Future-proof your career and deliver more value with Humans Lead the Way AI. Their hybrid learning courses use practical definitions, real-world examples, and strategic insights to help you and your team understand AI with confidence. No magic, no hacks, no shortcuts. Just practical knowledge that helps you use AI more successfully. Don't wait. AI can never replace people who know how to use it well. Register for courses today at humansleadtheway.com. That's humansleadtheway.com.
There is no denying that we've always been the conscience of this country. KBLA Talk 1580 is progressive talk radio built for our community, by our community, and with hosts who look like you, live near you, and care about what you care about. 50,000 watts of truth right here in Southern California. KBLA Talk 1580. Listen live on your AM radio dial at 1580 or stream us live on our KBLA1580.com website or on our free KBLA 1580 app.
Unapologetically progressive.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now.
800-550-9651.
Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-550-9651. That's 800-550-9651.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
KBLA Talk 1580. JOhen Wood Jr. is here. He's a national leader with Braver Angels and a writer and stuff starter. You can hear him Sunday mornings around here. Reconstruction Project, that's at 9 o'clock in the morning on Sundays.
That's right.
So are you like gloating about Graham Plattner, the Maine Senate Democratic candidate, Democratic Party candidate?
Gloating about
who's now been
Graham Plattner?
Yeah, yes. Like, I mean, I gloat a little bit when terrible Republicans sort of meet their demise.
No.
Sometimes even when terrible Democrats meet their demise, I gloat.
I'm not a gloater. I'm a bit of a bragger. I'll brag about myself, but I don't gloat at the demise and people I love such as yourself, but I don't gloat at the demise of other folks too much. In Plattner's case, actually, it saddens me a little bit because I don't know. I don't know what the truth or falsehood is, in the accusations. Obviously, he had like the Iron Cross tattoo that came out before and so forth. I just appreciated the fact that, he seemed to be a Democrat who kind of had like rural white kind of agrarian appeal and seemed to speak a cultural language that is not, I think, well spoken within the Democratic Party. And so, I thought that, it's nice to see a guy like that sort of, I think achieve some visibility.
A different kind of candidate.
Well, because, the Republican Party, because look, I'm more interested in a healthy civic and democratic world and country than I am sort of like one party or the other, even as I lean, in the directions you know me to lean. But Plattner, I was hoping, could be kind of constructive voice for, a certain kind of voter within the Democratic coalition, but that looks like it's collapsing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, when Elizabeth Warren says she's withdrawing her support, that's a whole problem.
That's a whole
and
problem.
It reminds me of Eric Swalwell. Like, how are we not vetting these people? That's U.S. Senate.
Now with Swalwell. That was an interesting thing because, things had been said about him for a very long time. And wasn't it sort of on the record that
No, that's more of an insider thing, though.
That he had slept with a Chinese spy and so forth.
Yeah, but that was kind of that was like sort of internet conspiracy theory level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's how most of us took it.
I'm on Twitter too much, so I might have.
Oh, you and Trump. Okay. Do you hang out on Truth Social?
No. Actually, Trump is not on Twitter that much because he's on Truth Social. He's got his own.
So he says.
He's got his own thing. He pops up here and there.
His politics. He might not be tweeting, but I'm saying he's reading it.
Oh, I'm sure.
His politics are just one mean Twitter feed.
That I'm sure of. But no, I get a constant stream of Elon Musk. That's what that's what you get.
I can't take it. I can't stay on there for more than a few minutes. They're too mean.
It is. Yeah. It's
disagree with me, but don't be so mean.
It's a nasty.
Also, they lie too much.
There's a lot of. Social media just in general is kind of like that. But Twitter, I was a real critic of Twitter under Jack Dorsey in the previous regime because it seemed to me like there's a lot of sort of politically correct constraining of the Overton window that was silencing certain voices selectively. Oh yeah, people getting banned for saying there are two genders and things that most Americans believe.
But the majority of people that get banned are still on the left. I don't care whether it's Elon or Jack.
Well, yeah.
And for some reason, Nazis roam free.
My only point is that it is definitely worse now. I miss the old.
For sure. That
in comparison, I say to people, I was like, the old Twitter was like an annoying HOA, but like the new Twitter is like a trailer park in the hood or something. It is like
with armed Nazis. And anyway, when the owner of the thing is giving Nazi salutes, you kind of know this problem.
Oh man, do you want to talk about the Nazis? We're really just sort of.
It's connected to Twitter and his politics.
Because I have a take on the Nazi salute because I don't think that Elon Musk is a Nazi. Although you and I have talked about
he supports far right German Nazi linked parties.
Well,
even without the salute, he is constantly posting eugenics theory on Twitter, even without the little hand gesture, whatever you want to call it. What he posts on Twitter is Nazi propaganda. The things he says about South Africa, Nazi propaganda. That there's a white genocide. Give me a break. I've been there, not even close. Those are lies. They're lies.
And people throw around the term genocide all over the place without thinking about what it means. But I think that, take Musk out of it, I think there are a lot of people who wouldn't think of themselves as Nazis, who nevertheless have like a somewhat perverse fascination with the Nazis. Like, I might not think of myself as a racist, but the Nazis were cool.
That I got a tattoo.
In some sense, because they almost, because they almost took over the world. They dressed in this sort of like flamboyant sort of way. There's this romantic kind of like sense of Hitler as this great
and it
crusader
talks like a Nazi, John. It's a Nazi. There's no excuse for that.
Yeah, well, it seemed when he did that, it was hard for me not to see that in the way that other people were seeing it, because I just don't understand how that is an accidental gesture, And I see a lot of folks sort of comparing and contrasting that with other salutes that other people give or whatnot. But that stiff-armed, I was about to try to demonstrate. I'm not going to do that. But that stiff-armed
because you might run for office.
Yeah, exactly. We don't need that still shot. We don't need that picture. But anyway, I probably.
So you gave him a pass.
No, I didn't give him a pass. I thought that, well, I mean, look, I don't know what was in his heart there, so I don't want to say definitively, but I do think that people have a way of romanticizing things.
But you do know what was in his heart. You just have to look at his Twitter feed. He's constantly tweeting things about how black people have smaller brains and how we're more developmentally.
I have not seen that. I have not seen him tweet that black people have smaller brains. So if you show,
he didn't
if you
say
show
it
me
in his
that,
words. He retweets other people who say it. He constantly does it. He's the one that convinced Trump there's a white genocide. He's the reason why the only refugees the United States is taking in right now are white people. He's the one that defunded, aid programs all over, not just Africa, but Asia and other places, and is now responsible for hundreds of thousands of people dying, which he pretends he's not. Those are all like...
Yeah, I mean...
white genocide moves, actually.
You may have seen some things that I have not seen. So I'd like to see where he's made some of those concrete statements about or endorse some of those concrete statements about racial inferiority and so forth.
You need to follow his feed
I'm somebody who would count himself as being a big critic of both American, but maybe even more so European immigration policies and so forth. I mean, I am conservative on immigration. I don't think it's economically or socially a wise thing to let in vast numbers of folks into a nation that you then do not have the capacity to assimilate according to a certain kind of basic threshold of allowing people to be able to sort of live alongside of each other in a culture that kind of holds together. And
so I think send Melania back.
I think that a lot of conservative, both in Europe and America, critiques of immigration will look racial, but from a person like me, it wouldn't matter the color of anybody. It's just not something that you want to. It's just not a responsible way to run a country.
We'll unpack that after news, traffic, and sports.
Yeah. If you want to circle back to it, but the question is Elon saying something more than that?
Oh yeah.
Right? Yeah.
He's saying a lot more than that. But anyway, we'll keep this going when we continue on KBLA Talk 1580.
Where the overlooked become unmissable. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. President Trump is indicating there will be more high-level meetings between the U.S. and China.
President Xi is coming here toward the end of September, and what we need is a big ballroom where we could hold thousands of people to see him.
Trump used a moment to highlight plans for a new White House ballroom, though Beijing has not yet officially confirmed the visit. Two Tennessee lawmakers, State Senators Ramesh Akbari and London Lamar, are demanding transparency after National Guard members fatally shot Black 20-year-old Tyron Johnson in Memphis. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigations is reviewing the incident, which authorities say began when Johnson allegedly pointed a gun during a foot chase. And LA County officials are investigating possible leaks in the murder case against singer David, real name David Burke. The probe centers on whether autopsy details were improperly released before becoming public. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
For many soccer fans around the world, justice was served Monday night in the World Cup. Belgium eliminated the U.S. men's soccer team with a dominant 4-1 win that could be called, in the words of James Brown, the big payback. World Cup fans and opposing teams were upset with the decision by FIFA President Gianni Infantino to overturn the red card one-game suspension for U.S. leading scorer Folarin Balogun. Balogun was not supposed to play Monday night. Trump was criticized for asking his good friend Infantino to review Balogun's suspension. When Infantino bowed down to Trump, both men became public enemy number 1 and number 2 for soccer fans around the world. Balogun was a non-factor in the lopsided loss, no goals or assists. This was the 4th straight World Cup the U.S. failed to advance to the quarterfinals. A lot of folks are delighted that the streak continued. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We don't do ordinary. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
As the poet laureate of Harlem, Langston Hughes, once said, I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow, I'll sit at the table when company comes. Nobody dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America. KBLA Talk 1580 and the Inner City Youth Orchestra of Los Angeles invite you to attend the 18th season finale concert, I Too Sing America, honoring the 250th anniversary of the United States of America, this Sunday, July 12, 3 p.m. at the Walt Disney Concert Hall. Curated by conductor Charles Dickerson and performed by the largest orchestra of color in the nation, I Too Sing America promises to be a show you won't soon forget. This Sunday, July 12, 3 p.m. at the Walt Disney Concert Hall in downtown Los Angeles. Purchase tickets at icyola.org or from the Music Center box office at musiccenter.org.
I Too Sing America.
Please be advised. You may want to stop eating the following foods immediately: broccoli, kale, bean sprouts, blueberries, quinoa, spinach.
Wait, what? I thought those were good for me.
Turns out, not for everyone. Because what's healthy for one person can cause inflammation for another. And the only way to really know what your body needs is to listen to it.
Listen how?
That's where Viome comes in. Viome is a simple, at-home gut health test that looks at your body's real-time biology using RNA to understand what's happening inside you right now. When your results come in, you'll learn exactly which foods to eat, which to avoid, and which supplements are right for you, all based on the world's largest RNA-based human biology database and thousands of clinical research studies. And many people who use Viome report more energy, better digestion, and a better mood within months. So stop guessing. Start knowing. Learn more at viome.com/gut. V as in Victor, IOME.com/GUT. And use coupon code GUTHEALTH50 to save $50 off your purchase. Viome. Trust your gut.
This November, you'll decide who leads California. So shouldn't you hear directly from the people asking for your vote? Join us for California Voices, a political town hall and ballot forum, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. Meet candidates running for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and other major statewide and local offices, including Mayor of Los Angeles, city attorney, and LA County Sheriff. Get clear, nonpartisan breakdowns of the propositions on your November ballot, both sides, no spin. And ask your questions directly, in real conversation, face to face. California Voices is brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the Empowerment Congress, giving you the information you need before you vote. Mark your calendar, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026, California Voices. Follow KBLA 1580 for details and download the KBLA 1580 app. Your vote, your voice. Be there.
We're not for everybody, but we're for everybody. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
Okay, JOhen Wood Jr., you were just launching in. We're here. We never left. JOhen Wood Jr., the host of the Reconstruction Project, Sunday mornings at 9. And he's one of my rare Republican friends. You were talking about your theories on immigration, which kind of leads us right into the debate around birthright citizenship, which has just been at least temporarily settled by the U.S. Extreme Court. And I say temporarily because they certainly left the door open.
Well, but you got to be basically happy. I'm guessing from sort of a more progressive point of view, that decision probably could have been a lot worse from your vantage point. Wouldn't you think?
It could have been a little worse.
Could have been a little worse.
Yeah, I mean 5-4 is pretty bad. Yeah, 5-4 means where the basic simple language of the Constitution couldn't convince more than 5 justices to uphold the basic simple language. I mean, this is not a really complicated. And
is that really the,
I knew
the
you'd
basic
say that.
simple language?
Yes, it is the very basic simple language. And
the 14th Amendment
they left a roadmap for Congress to go ahead and overturn the whole thing. So it could have been a little worse. Yeah.
Well, the 14th Amendment says that citizenship is guaranteed to those born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. So everything turns on the interpretation of that particular phrase. But look, first of all, let me just say,
It's not rocket science.
As a matter
born
of
in the U.S. should be doing some heavy lifting in that sentence,
and subject to the jurisdiction thereof.
Which is everyone in the United States is subject to the jurisdiction thereof.
Well, in some sense, however, if I'm an American citizen,
even if you're not a citizen, if you break the law, you're subject to the jurisdiction thereof.
If I'm an American citizen in a foreign nation, I'm still subject to the jurisdiction, to the legal relationship that I possess to the nation of my
wherever
origin.
you are, yeah,
right, exactly.
Where your origin and where you are.
Well, yeah, I mean, however,
when you're in Mexico, you follow Mexican law. You're under their jurisdiction.
I think that first of all, let me just say, I'm not somebody who wants to see citizenship taken away from anybody.
Yeah, because then black people,
I don't think that. Well, but
the argument that the 14th Amendment gives black the freedmen,
yes,
the children of the babies of slaves, as the great leader likes to say, gives us citizenship.
Exactly, but that is the historical context of the 14th Amendment.
But so
right?
what? I mean, that's
it was
like
to
saying,
enfranchise.
That's like saying, well, because we gave women the vote, that only means that women who are here when we gave them the vote get to vote. And no, women who immigrate here also get the vote. That's the Constitution applies to everyone.
Yeah, but context matters in historical context matters in terms of constitutional
splitting
interpretation.
Hairs.
No. I mean, if you were to subsequently amend the Constitution in a way that simply identifies birth as the sufficient condition for citizenship, then you could say that that's plain language. But in the case of people born out of slavery, African Americans who have no sort of prior relationship to any other government by virtue of their parents coming over and having from another country and having a child on American shores, the only plausible jurisdiction for the children of freed slaves is the United States government.
And that's not true because they tried to send us to Congo, they tried to send us to Liberia, they tried to send us to Brazil, they tried to send us a lot of places.
That's not a function of there being any legal relationship.
Well, I mean, we are descendants
they
would have
sent us to any plot of land.
True that,
in
but
Africa.
I mean, you could also do a DNA test and find some links.
Well, you definitely couldn't have done that back in the mid 20th century. But you
understand what I'm saying. Clearly, there are links. We were kidnapped from a certain continent.
But my point now, the conversation at the time around the 14th Amendment is really interesting because you can actually look at congressional debates over the passage of the 14th Amendment and even at the time find people who are arguing it both ways depending on what member of Congress they needed to vote for the 14th Amendment. And so in other words, there were members of Congress who did not have a good relationship with immigrant populations in their districts. And Lincoln and company, and trying to win the votes of those members of Congress, would make arguments along the lines of, well, these people aren't going to be enfranchised as voters, so you don't have to worry about supporting the 14th Amendment. And then for congressmen in California who had Chinese people sort of living in the state who they had good relationships with, the argument ran exactly the other way. Like, well, this could happen.
But let's fast forward to today, John.
I'm not saying it's not a complex legal argument.
I know that you
but the overall historical context has to do with slavery, and everything beyond that is just added on after the fact.
You know what? See, this is what I mean.
Don't you think?
No, I don't. We disagree on this. Okay, and I think it's awfully convenient that Republicans suddenly want to enfranchise and champion the rights of freedmen. Okay, then give us our stinking reparations. Because if you want to go by the letter of the law and what you all said you was going to do back then we need our reparations, which the president has unequivocally stated that he is against. Yeah. So that's just a bunch of BS. Let's fast forward to where we are right now. No, it's not a different issue.
Take the point.
When you talk about what the United States was supposedly doing for freed enslaved persons, freedmen, then if you want to get all like so-called literal about it, where's our 40 acres and a mule? Where's our reparations? Where's the payment of the debt?
My only
what
point
happened
is that
to
this
the
is an issue of constitutional interpretation.
Okay,
it's not even necessarily.
We're not having that argument. You said you were going to talk about your conservative, and I know this is part of the foundation of it, but you love to do this because you're a public intellectual. Go down the rabbit hole. You said that It's not sustainable to bring in a bunch of people that you may not be able to economically support, even though the reality is in many ways they support this economy, which is why you've got Republican Congress people turning around and crying about the Haitians being deported because they're acting as healthcare workers and taking care of a lot of these old people in Miami and in Florida and other places.
For sure, no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
You know, that's but that is a mainstream Republican Party talking point. Many immigrants pay taxes. Many of them have jobs that other people are not doing.
Yeah.
It's
not just an economic thing. So look, there's a complex economic issue because on the one hand, part of the reason why we would have relatively, let's say flexible immigration policy is to fill holes in our own labor force. Although the consequences of that historically, particularly in black communities, you know where I'm going with this, has been an effect of introducing low-wage labor competition
labor
in a way
exploitation.
that has exactly,
Sure.
which has both been exploitative for the people coming over as well as driving down the wages of
Right,
particularly
but-
poor black people
but
in
also-
inner city communities who then have to
But
compete
also that
with
is an
those-
argument
with those
for
workers.
an argument for a consistent immigration policy, consistent humane immigration policy. And you say these policies look racial, but they're not racial, which is a whole word salad.
I mean, what I'm
not
saying
racial?
is that it is
Hold
possible
on,
to be,
answer this question. Is it not racial that as of right now, for the past year, every refugee granted status into the United States has been white?
Oh, that definitely seems racial to me. That definitely seems. But
so what
you
are
know,
you talking about when you say policies that seem racial, but they really aren't?
That's
what is that?
But that's a relatively recent development.
Well,
I mean,
it's an example of the way our immigration system works.
Now.
No,
I mean,
not just now. Historically,
Trump,
the Chinese Exclusion Act, the first term, Trump said he wants nice immigrants like the ones from Norway. Way harder for people from Africa, Haiti, or any black so-called ish-hole country to get a visa or to get citizenship. That is not new.
I mean, look,
it's way easier to immigrate here from Canada, Norway, Sweden.
The reason we have the diverse demographics we have in America today is that because since the Great Society in 1970, we've had a chain migration policy that has allowed for people to come over both in greater numbers and also without respect to any sort of necessary economic contributing factor, in a way to where, if you come over here and you've got a cousin or an aunt or an uncle who wants to come over as well, they get sort of slotted to the front of the line. And that has overwhelmingly accrued to the benefits of importing more Latin immigrants and to a certain degree African immigrants. So, the Chinese Exclusion Act notwithstanding,
it's not just
the norm
that,
of
John.
recent generations has
That's
been
wrong.
Much more. That
is wrong. It is
statistically correct.
Well, because because we're adjacent. Because we're adjacent to Latin America, so people come in and then they get either get amnesty or they apply for citizenship or they come here for refuge.
The policy allowed for that.
But it is much easier to get a visa
volume.
or get citizenship if you come from a non-black country.
Well, especially now, especially under Trump, right? I'm just saying that the conservative criticisms of because I was making some of these critiques of immigration policy, and there's the American context and the European context. What I'm saying is that precedes the racialized sort of quota system that seems to be aimed at prioritizing, as you said, not just white, but white South African refugees to the country in what looks to me like an effort to appeal to a small but important white nationalist constituency within the GOP voter base.
So you don't think they're just trying to make America whiter?
No, I mean, I think that they're trying to.
Deporting 300,000 Haitians who are black.
Yeah. I mean, I think that at the very least they're trying to appeal to a certain set of voters who are definitely trying to do that. So I mean, and that perhaps cashes out to the same thing. I don't think that Donald Trump himself cares one way or the other. I mean, I think he is about power and holding on to it.
Then why did
and
the
he'll
Justice
appeal to
Department
any-
have to sue him and his dad 3 times to get them to rent to black people if he doesn't care one way or the other?
Well, because I think that like other real estate developers at the time, so now we're going back to New York decades ago.
Yeah, but it's just
they thought that their properties would be more profitable if
It
they were
goes to
catering to a certain. Oh, well, I agree with that 100%. It's just possible to be a sleazebag without being a racist, is what I'm saying.
And I would argue he's
they're
both.
different. They're perhaps so, but I'm just saying that they're different. They're different ways of landing in the same
Doesn't strike
place.
you as like insane that you have Elon Musk, who came here illegally, according to his brother, got incredibly huge government subsidies from the United States to make non-profitable companies profitable.
Yeah.
Tesla and SpaceX, right? And now he's the richest man in the world. That he is the one championing the SAVE Act to take votes away from women and, anyone he can. That they are the ones that are shutting down refugee opportunities for people who aren't white. That Trump, who's married to illegal immigrants, including the first lady.
Yeah. Well, Musk
who had an anchor baby.
Yeah, Elon Musk definitely, and I guess Trump too, but Elon Musk definitely has his preferred categories of immigrants. You might remember that earlier, I think, in Trump's current administration, Musk slammed headlong into sort of the mainstream of Trump's voting base when he backed up Vivek Ramaswamy and supporting H-1B visas and saying basically that, Native American, that is to say, natively born Americans did not have the qualifications to work the sorts of high-tech jobs that we
saying
needed
we're
Asians
stupid
and East
and
Indians
uneducated,
for,
yeah.
right? And so they were just like, well, wait a second, right? I said to somebody, it's just like, now y'all know what it's like to be, to have somebody basically say that, y'all some stupid ends, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
But, I mean, I think that Musk, what he, I think he values those folks wherever they come from, who come to the country in a way that feeds into the larger kind of technological superstate that he wants to build. I've always looked at that as being kind of his end goal.
I mean, he said he wants an army of robots. He wants a robot army.
Well, so that's
and
the
$1 trillion
thing
so he can control
so
it.
Honestly, Dominic, that's the thing that concerns me more than anything is kind of the transhumanist kind of, direction of a lot of this thinking. And in the past, Musk, had seemed to be the kind of technologist who was trying to put technology to the service of humanity as opposed to replacing humanity. But, part of, and they're, you're not going to be a fan of Steve Bannon. I'm not necessarily either. But I thought that Bannon was right in saying that within the sort of tech oligarchy, there's something that is like fundamentally wanting to be subversive of the necessity of human beings themselves in sort of like the future of society. And so as we move in a direction to where artificial intelligence is potentially spilling out of control, and we're talking about, being an interplanetary sort of species, going to Mars and so on and so forth, it's hard not to see how there's not potentially kind of a group of folks for whom the rest of humanity is a little bit optional as they kind of build this bright, bold sort of new technological future.
But yet he's having babies like he was a, puppy. Well, like he's having puppies. I mean, not like he was a puppy, like he was having puppies.
Yeah, well,
so he wants
he
the rest of humanity is expendable, but not his kids.
I hope he doesn't think that way, but that is my concern as I look at the drift of some of what's coming out of Silicon Valley. And Elon is a product of that as much as anything else at this point. And so, a lot of my concerns sort of drift in that direction.
Well,
but it's possible to be conservative on immigration without having racial animus. And I've always made that case.
Okay,
right?
So that's what I want to hear. Like when we come forward, what does that mean? What does that look like? How would you change things? Because typically that is not what we see. And if you're talking about a fair, consistent, non-racist immigration policy, that would be a new day for the United States of America. Love to hear what that looks like. We'll find out when we come forward. JOhen Wood Jr. is here on KBLA Talk 1580.
More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Hi, I'm Chris Holden, former California Assembly member, former Mayor of Pasadena, and CEO of LA Fire Justice. I've spent my career fighting for our communities. When I saw Edison celebrating $4.5 billion in profits while Eaton fire survivors struggle to make ends meet, it made me simultaneously sick and furious. Families and individuals are dealing with financial pressure, insurance delays, costly remediation, and the painful question of how to rebuild their lives, while the utility that caused the fire is paying its executives millions and is more profitable than ever. That's not justice, that's a disgrace. Join the lawsuit with LA Fire Justice to hold Edison accountable. We're here to help you, your family, and our community recover. Visit lafirejustice.com today to learn more about your eligibility and how to start.
Advertisement. Douglas Boxer, 221 East Walnut Street, Suite 100, Pasadena, California, 91101 is the attorney responsible for this ad.
LA Fire Justice is proud to sponsor Conversation Live, Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Listen up, KBLA delegation. We have something you need to hear. Right now, you may qualify for low-cost home internet. And we're not talking about a catch. This is real. Many internet service providers offer low-cost internet plans if anyone in your household is enrolled in CalFresh, Medi-Cal, SSI, or is income eligible. There are a lot of families in our community who deserve to be connected. Here's all you do. Call 844-461-7893. That's the Get Connected call center. Real people ready to help you enroll today. Or go online to internetforallnow.org to find a provider near you. You may also qualify for a low-cost computer through Human IT. Connectivity is not a luxury. In 2026, it's a necessity. And you deserve access just like everybody else. Call 844-461-7893. That's 844-461-7893. KBLA's got you. If you missed any of this, you can always go to our website at KBLA1580.com. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 in partnership with the California Emerging Technology Fund, CETF.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
All right, JOhen Wood Jr., what does a conservative, non-racist immigration policy look like?
Well, first of all, I mean, I think that the admitting of immigrants into the country should take, first of all, there should be zero prejudice in terms of nation of origin. That's thing number one, just utter neutrality on that front. I think that where there should be some priority and discretion is in terms of, one, measuring immigration goals against the economic needs of the society. So I think that it's perfectly justifiable to say that we've got a labor force that is weak in this area and the larger economy is suffering because of that. Therefore, let us prioritize, whether we're talking about agricultural workers or doctors, let us prioritize folks.
So you agree with Elon, we should bring in those Indian folks.
I mean, I don't really have a problem with H-1B. Now, what I will say, though, I do have a little bit of a problem with it. The problem I do kind of have with it is, insofar as we might find ourselves relying exclusively on another country or group of countries to satisfy a part of our economy, as opposed to making sure our own educational system is preparing, native-born Americans for the opportunities of today and tomorrow. That actually is an issue. But in principle, though, I think that we should be oriented. I think that family connection does matter, but I think that we should be oriented more around, who's bringing in practical benefits to the United States economy, and what are the spillover effects of bringing in a number of people to the point to where it might overwhelm a local community. Because look, we're in Black Los Angeles. And the Latino part of LA, the Latino community in LA, is a huge part of the cultural richness of the city, no doubt about it.
And the workforce. Let's not just act like we're doing everybody a favor.
But the way those policies cashed out in the years of that becoming a reality was one that had massive damaging consequences for Black people who are already in these in these communities economically and even socially and even politically.
I mean, those are again.
There's a way to do it that makes sense, and there's a way to do it.
And race neutral is something I don't think America knows how to do. But I have to ask this question because they keep asking it in the chat. They want to know. And Yogi Fish saying this every day. Frederick Douglass was a Republican, but we drove horse and buggies back then. It's not your same Republican Party. So what is today's Republican Party doing for Black Americans is the question.
Well, I mean, I don't think that today's Republican Party is doing all that much for Black Americans. I think today's Republican Party, it's not even just Black Americans. I think today's Republican Party has been fairly destructive in a lot of areas. That doesn't mean that there's not Republican positions that I don't still agree with. Obviously there are. And I'd say something similar for the Democratic Party, too. I think that Black people do face a more complicated set of obstacles than
you're both sidesing me.
People. Well, but I think it's true. I think both sides. I think both sides are a big fail.
Look, I got plenty of critiques for the Democratic Party.
You do too,
yeah, but I can point to things that the Democratic Party has actually done that have benefited Black people, which I cannot do on the other side. I'm not saying that I don't have. You know that already.
No.
My critiques.
I understand that. I think that we need a whole episode for this. I think that the fundamental issue facing Black America is not one issue, but many interrelated things. And so, in other words, because of historical systematic inequality, Black people are concentrated in communities where every surrounding public service and institution fails us to one degree or another, whether it's the healthcare system, the local economy, the education system, or the criminal justice system. And so any effort to broadly uplift the well-being of Black people in America has to reckon with the interrelationship that exists between failing institutions that themselves are also geographically sort of reinforced around us because of the way in which we've been corralled in the population centers that we tend to live in across most of the country.
Medicare for all,
and
for
neither
example,
the Democratic nor the Republican Party reckon with that.
Medicare for all, free college for all. Those are policies coming out of the progressive wing of the Democratic Party.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and so the Democrats are definitely better at, I think, identifying solutions that, at least on a rhetorical level, seem to be aimed at the interests of poor people. And Black people are not mostly poor in America, so that's a misperception, but disproportionately
working class
poor.
and middle class.
However,
hugely benefit from Medicare for all as well, not just poor people.
Yeah, potentially, but there's always a couple of. So when I was running for Congress, I actually was probably the only Republican in America to run on a single payer to run on a public option healthcare proposal. But my healthcare proposal was to have a public option as a backstop for all Americans, so basically Medicare for all, but with health savings accounts and market-based purchasing power being the thing that we route
That's
tax
so JOhen
dollars
Wood
into
Jr.
to allow direct purchases to drive down the cost of healthcare while still incentivizing competition. In other words, the major problem is the insurance companies in between.
No, we agree on that. Yeah. But this clock is not agreeing with either one of us. You're going to have to come back. JOhen Wood Jr., you can hear him Sundays at 9. And you can find him at JOhen Wood Jr. on all the platforms.
That's right, John R. Wood Jr. Yes, ma'am.
News, traffic, and sports and more, only right here.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. President Trump is indicating there will be more high-level meetings between the U.S. and China.
President Xi is coming here toward the end of September, and what we need is a big ballroom where we could hold thousands of people to see him.
Trump used a moment to highlight plans for a new White House ballroom, though Beijing has not yet officially confirmed the visit. 2 Tennessee lawmakers, State Senators Ramesh Akbari and London Lamar, are demanding transparency after National Guard members fatally shot Black 20-year-old Tyron Johnson in Memphis. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigations is reviewing the incident, which authorities say began when Johnson allegedly pointed a gun during a foot chase. And LA County officials are investigating possible leaks in the murder case against singer David, real name David Burke. The probe centers on whether autopsy details were improperly released before becoming public. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
Is this the This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
For many soccer fans around the world, justice was served Monday night in the World Cup. Belgium eliminated the U.S. men's soccer team with a dominant 4-1 win that could be called, in the words of James Brown, the big payback. World Cup fans and opposing teams were upset with the decision by FIFA President Gianni Infantino to overturn the red card one-game suspension for U.S. leading scorer Folarin Balogun. Balogun was not supposed to play Monday night. Trump was criticized for asking his good friend Infantino to review Balogun's suspension. When Infantino bowed down to Trump, both men became public enemy number 1 and number 2 for soccer fans around the world. Balogun was a non-factor in the lopsided loss, no goals or assists. This was the 4th straight World Cup the U.S. failed to advance to the quarterfinals. A lot of folks are delighted that the streak continued. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. The headline in the newspaper read, Black leaders join forces to bring Destination Crenshaw toward the finish line. Now, beyond the headline phraseology of toward the finish line, if you actually read the article,